So Dimitry Bivol is willing to move down to the 168 to face Canelo Alvarez so he could become an undisputed at the super middleweight, knowing that he's been in light heavyweight and the champion of light heavyweight throughout his whole career, professional career. Is Dimitry Bivol trying to be a weight bully? Or is it Canelo Alvarez on a power trip? And what I mean about Canelo Alvarez being on a power trip, look, power is good. And God bless Canelo Alvarez that he's in position to call shots, to get all the fights that he wants, to create his own opportunity and create opportunity for others. Yet, Canelo Alvarez's power is good for Canelo, but not necessarily good for potential great matchups not headlined by Canelo Alvarez. And what do I mean by that? Ladies and gentlemen, let's y'all already know that Canelo Alvarez locked down a fight with Triple G, right? When he locked it down, he had the Dimitry Bivol fight. You know, he signed that DAZN deal and had that Triple G fight. Nobody was really asking for the Bivol fight. Nobody was really asking for the Triple G fight. But by getting the Triple G fight, letting the people know that that's going to be a potential matchup already, that's already in the books or signed, it takes away from Triple G versus Jamal Charlo. It takes away from Triple G versus Dimitri Andre. Those unification bouts, which I wanted to see. Now, of course, we still could have had Dimitri Andre and Charlo, but of course, Charlo was in Showtime. Triple G was on DAZN, where Dimitri Andre was. If Canelo Alvarez says, I'm going to be fighting Triple G, then of course, Triple G and his business handlers is not going to put him up against a stiff competition. So they went with Murata, you feel me? Knowing that they're going to have Canelo Alvarez down the pipeline. They go with Murata instead of going to the Dimitri Andre, which got all the skills and talent to beat Triple G, especially at this stage of his career. So it keeps a potential matchup because, of course, people are going to, like I said, be reluctant, or their team be reluctant to put their client, their fighter, in there with the competition. Now, let's say this Dimitry Bivol versus Canelo Alvarez. Now, I understand Canelo Alvarez wants to avenge his loss. I support that, but I really don't support Dimitry Bivol coming down to 168. I mean, Canelo Alvarez lost in 175 pounds. Canelo Alvarez also got a lot of credit by going to 175 pounds when he beat Sergey Kovalev to become a 3-division world champion at that time. We didn't hear about size. We didn't hear nothing of the disadvantages because when he won, we gave Canelo Alvarez all the praise. Now, why is that Dimitry Bivol needs to come down to the 168 to fight a rematch with Canelo Alvarez when, of course, Dimitry Bivol beat him very convincingly? Why give the advantage to Canelo Alvarez? What is the motive? Think about it. What is really the motive? Some people are going to be like, well, of course, the Undisputed. But let's not forget that we won Dimitry Bivol versus Beterbiev. And I think that's one of the most anticipated undisputed matchup in the sport of boxing. But the power of Canelo Alvarez could tamper with that matchup because of the power of Canelo Alvarez, because of the payday that Canelo Alvarez brings. See, I don't want Canelo Alvarez's power to tamper with a potential matchup. I'm talking about 2 pound-for-pound fighters in Dimitry Bivol and Beterbiev, 2 undefeated world champions at the light heavyweight division. But if potential Canelo Alvarez fight tampers with the business handlers and their minds of getting Dimitry Bivol back in the ring. Dimitry Bivol never fought in 168 in his professional level. Now, he could say that he fought in that weight class in his amateur, but come on. You're highly successful in the light heavyweight. Now, you're going to come down? No, that's a weight bully. See, you got to be careful, Dimitry Bivol. Eddie Hearn. Because I know, you know what I'm saying, the plans of Eddie Hearn is all about the move. That's all about the money. Not caring about that, you're going to have your fighters in a vulnerable state. His power is going to sucker Dimitry Bivol to make a decision in which he should not make a decision, to drain himself to 168 pounds and fight Canelo Alvarez Why? You already beat Canelo Alvarez. See, I'm going to tell you something about the sport of boxing if y'all don't know. See, one of the things that the business handlers in the sport of boxing do, I'm talking about promoters and probably managers and stuff like that, is they know how to capitalize on fighters' vulnerable state. When it comes to money, when it comes to potential big fights, they know how to put these fighters in a vulnerable state of mind to make a decision, to make not a smart decision. Dimitry Bivol never fought again in the 168-pound division. He's a big guy. We saw that even when versus Canelo Alvarez. He's not the one that's supposed to be making a sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? He's not the one that's supposed to be making a sacrifice, especially if you got a big fight versus Arturo Beterbiev. We don't want that fight to be tampered with because of the power of Canelo Alvarez. And that's what's happening. The power of Canelo Alvarez is also tampering with potential matchups. It also tampers with the mind of the business handlers not to put their fighter, if their fighter's in position to get a Canelo Alvarez fight, they're not gonna want to risk it with their fighters. They're not gonna want to put their fighter up against somebody, up against a stiff competition because they're in position to get the payday of Canelo Alvarez. You understand what I'm saying? So Canelo Alvarez should not be wanted to fight Dimitry Bivol at 168. What we want to see is Canelo Alvarez and David Benavidez at 168. What we want to see is Canelo Alvarez versus Dimitri Andre in 168. And if Jamal Charlo want to move up, because I want to see the fight that that's been matched up with Canelo Alvarez for quite some time. Just think about it. If Dimitri Bivol beats Canelo Alvarez, right? Let's say Dimitri Bivol comes to the 168-pound division, beats Canelo Alvarez once again. He becomes an undisputed. What you think? That Dimitri Bivol is going to stay there? No, he's going to drop the belts and then move forward to probably fight Beterbiev. He's going to drop the belts. It has nothing to do with the division. It has nothing to do to reign at 168. It has nothing to do to defend his undisputed title. And then that's going to take away of the fight that the fans, one of the most anticipated fight that the fans want to see, and that's David Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez, primarily in a 168-pound division. Canelo Alvarez power works for him, but it's becoming apparent in the super middleweight division, and probably the guys that's in the middleweight division. Look, Canelo Alvarez tamper. Look, I said the middleweight division, people is abandoning the champions and is abandoning the middleweight division to go to the 168 for potential fight with Canelo Alvarez, right? Jamal Charlo was on the table for PBC for that deal that they had, that package deal with Jamal Charlo fighting in Cinco de Mayo versus Canelo Alvarez and David Benavidez, right? So right there it tampered with, all right, Jamal Charlo's not going to fight another middleweight champion. You got Triple G waiting on the Willy Wonka ticket. He was on the table, so he ain't gonna fight nobody really that's gonna really get him off position. And you got Dimitry Andre moving up to the 168 that he was in the verge of becoming to fight Parker to put himself in mandatory position and things of that nature, right? And talking about Zach Parker, let me tell you how the power of Canelo Alvarez could tamper with the decision-making of these promoters, of these fighters that's in position to get a Canelo Alvarez fight. Y'all remember Zach Parker, in which a lot of people was critiquing the Dimitry Andre for not fighting Zach Parker for that $183K because of the second purse bid and things of that nature. But remember the first purse bid. It was what, $1.8 million. Zach Parker was going to get almost $700,000 guaranteed. Dimitry Andre was going to get 1.1, almost 1.2, right? Now, they figured out probably in the second purse bid, like, yo, we already in position to get a Canelo Alvarez fight. You know what I'm saying? Dimitry Andre got the skills and talent to actually, and as we saw Zach Parker and how the way he performed, you already know Dimitry Andre was going to whoop that ass. But they already knew that. The matchmakers are smart in the sport of boxing. They get a lot of money to be matchmakers. They figure out, nah. We can't let Dimitry Andre come up and beat Zach Parker when we're in position to make big money with a Canelo Alvarez, a potential mandatory, right? So they actually lowballed by Queensberry bidding what they bid in the second bid, that $300K. They actually lowballed Zach Parker, their own fighter. But of course, behind the scene, they're gonna tell Zach Parker, don't worry about that, man. we got you Ryder. Now Ryder is worse than Dimitry Andre. You got a chance to beat Ryder. You got a chance to beat Ryder, and then we in position to get the Canelo Alvarez fight. So actually, let's risk risk this good. Let's not risk it with the Dimitry Andre. Fight Zach Parker. You got way better chance than beating Zach. I'm sorry. Let's risk it with Ryder. You got a better chance than beating Ryder. Take this less money to fight Ryder for the greater good for a potential matchup with Canelo Alvarez, man. So take this $500,000 guarantee that he made with Ryder. He was gonna get a guaranteed almost 700,000 to fight Dimitry Andre. That's what happens. He lose, less money, no Canelo, probably not even David Benavidez, not nothing. I don't hear nobody talking about Zach Parker. Have you heard about him? You see, because they made that decision because of the potential matchup with Canelo Alvarez. And that's what I'm saying. That Canelo Alvarez's power tampers with the decision makings of these other promoters, business handlers of these other fighters. You know what I'm saying? Zach Parker could have fought Dimitry Andre, an undefeated fighter and stuff like that. And probably if it would have beat Dimitry Andre, we don't know he was not going to beat him. But you know what I'm saying? At least he was fighting an undefeated fighter. An accomplished fighter at that. So, look. So the guys at 160 is coming to 168. The 168 pounders want to fight the champion. There's an undisputed. There's only one champion. You got Dimitry Bivol, who got a potential undisputed matchup with Beterbiev, but now he's thinking about going to fight Canelo Alvarez. So it's also Canelo Alvarez power trip or swinging his big stick everywhere he go, because at the end of the day, Canelo Alvarez is also taking big potential matchups away from the fighters. Let's not forget that, look, he fought Dimitry Bivol. We ain't never asked for that fight. But at that time, it actually took away from Sultan Ramirez and Dimitry Bivol at that time. Yeah, the fight went through now, but it took away from his opportunity to become a champion at that time. So, I say this. Dimitry Bivol, in conclusion, should not fight Canelo Alvarez at 168. Nah, that's a vulnerable state of mind. They just doing it for the money. The business handler is going to do whatever is possible. And I think it's not fair. Eddie Hearn should just quit that mess right now. Eddie Hearn, bruv, quit that mess. You're acting highly desperate right now. You're acting highly desperate. All right, we want Beterbiev versus Dimitry Bivol. Don't talk to us about Canelo Alvarez and Dimitry Bivol and if it's going to be in 168. If Canelo Alvarez want to avenge his loss, let's do that right after the Beterbiev. And maybe for Canelo Alvarez, it'll be a bigger fight to get the rematch up there in 175 for the Undisputed. How about the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol? Canelo Alvarez could swing his big stick up there if he wants. And for his power, again, he's blessed to have the power. He's blessed to be in the position that he's at. But right now, the power is working for Canelo. Canelo has every right to want to avenge his loss. But Bivol has every right, and the fans of boxing has every right to see an undisputed matchup in the light heavyweight versus two pound-for-pound, undefeated, great talent today. Come on. That's like if it's almost an equivalent. We want to see Earl Spence versus Bud Crawford. But maybe, how you say it, let's say Gervonta Tank Davis is bringing all the money and he want to go to the 147-pound division to fuck shit up. And then there's a potential bigger fight. Let's say it's way bigger money because Gervonta Tank Davis brings some money in the American market. I'm just giving an example. If you understand what I'm trying to say. You feel me? I don't know. I don't like how it smells. I think they desperate. That 168 stuff. I think they acted real desperate to get that rematch. Maybe Eddie Hearn is scared that Canelo Alvarez is gonna leave the zone and probably go to PBC because I believe, to be honest, Canelo Alvarez got one big fight outside of PBC. I'm talking about mega fight. Canelo Alvarez is always going to be a big fight, no matter who he fights. That John Ryder, that's a whack fight. I don't want to see that fight. But the PBC guys can ice him out. They can ice him out. Because the fights that we've been talking about, marinated, been Canelo Alvarez versus Benavidez, Canelo Alvarez versus Charlo, Canelo Alvarez versus Andre. Those are the fights and those are the names that's been marinated. Whether you want to be a fan of or hate these other fighters or whatever, I don't know. Y'all be getting y'all little power trip yourselves. Those are the fights that's been linked to Canelo Alvarez for quite some time. Not John Ryder. I don't want to see that fight again. I want to see Canelo Alvarez fight these guys. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm a supporter of the Avengers loss in 175. Not to drain Bivol to give you the advantage. Nah, it doesn't work like that. You move up to dare to be great, not move down to dare to be great. I don't want Dimitry Bivol to be a weight bully. We already see the size, right? Canelo, we already seen it. Sometimes it ain't even about sometimes making a weight. What about how much he's gonna rehydrate? And you know what Canelo Alvarez gonna put a rehydration clause too? Nah, man, nah. Canelo Alvarez and his team probably on some power trip. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Let me know what y'all think, man. Subscribe to the channel, smash the like button. Love you. God bless, and on to the next.